Hey, welcome to our podcast where we talk about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and we also talk about One Piece and how apparently we're enjoying them. I'm Josh Gordon. I didn't want to say my last name, but I did. We need to fix that in post too.
No last names.
And this is
I'm Hayden Hartrick.
I'm Adriana Monroe.
Epic.
And I'm Clayton Chalman.
And we're here because last week we introduced some media to each other. Three of us here are huge JoJo fans, and one of us is a huge One Piece fan. And we're hoping, in due time, it'll just be kind of even across the board. We'll all be big JoJo fans, and we'll all be big One Piece fans because we're all friends and we all love each other. Good night.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Yeah, Clayton, you saw the first 3 episodes.
I saw the first 3 episodes of JoJo.
Yeah.
And for everybody following along at home, everybody else read the first 8 chapters. We told you 7 last week, but we decided we're going to go by volume now, so they read the first 8 chapters of One Piece.
Yeah. And it wasn't too hard. It wasn't too hard.
Yeah.
It's not a lot.
No, I mean, I could do that. I could do more than that.
Hell yeah. How is everybody doing today?
Mm-hmm.
I'm in pain. I've been in pain for like a week.
Hayden
It's just
broke
been-
his back.
Yeah, it's been
Hayden
a
blew
vicious
his back
cycle
out.
of I got food poisoning, then I lost my voice, then I threw my back out all
You got
over.
food
Oh my
poisoning?
God.
Yeah, did I not tell you?
When'd you get food poisoning?
On Thursday I got food poisoning from a certain burrito place that starts with a CH. I got a big barbacoa burrito before heading to work.
That sucks.
And 30 minutes after that, I got like sick, and then I had to like call out of work on Friday, which I never like call out of work. I was like, it was in a bad spot. I had a really bad migraine because of it too. I was like, there was one point I was like late at night at like 4 a.m. on Saturday night. And I couldn't go to sleep because my head hurt so bad and no one had any medicine. So I was just like naked on all fours in my room, begging God to let me go to sleep.
On all fours?
Yeah,
Like,
like
sleeping on all fours?
I was on my floor on my hands
That's
and
how he
knees because I was just in a lot of pain.
Oh, I've been there. God, I've been there.
But then I got Excedrin, and that fixed all of my problems.
Excedrin.
Hell yeah.
Great.
That's fucking sick.
Did you piss off a witch or something?
Dude, I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know.
You got cursed. for
Also, why
sure.
are you why don't you want to say the name of the
I don't know. Maybe they'll sue us.
the huge
They might
chain
sue it.
they
Yeah.
gave you food poisoning?
Maybe they'll sue
Well,
us.
we don't want to hurt their reputation because everybody
Yeah.
knows how clean their food always is.
Yep.
Okay.
My car exploded as well, so I'm not.
No.
Oh my God. What is happening?
Yeah, Clayton
My
just
ba-
cut my
my-
mic in the middle of me saying no.
my battery went out. So we're all having fun weeks here on whatever this podcast is called. With that, guys, do we want to just start talking about this shit? Do we want to?
Sure.
Do we want to get into this?
Josh or Adriana, did you have anything major go wrong in your life?
No.
Okay.
Nothing to follow that up with.
No, I had a busy week. What's today?
Today's Thursday.
Oh, I've had a busy week, but overall things have. I'm sorry, guys.
That's okay.
Okay.
We're persevering,
Okay.
and you know how we're persevering
Oh.
through these wonderful pieces of media that we're engaging in.
Art is the
Art.
soul of our life, and
Yeah. Yeah. So, just to catch everybody up, I am the JoJo virgin. They are all the One Piece virgins.
then one of us is the real virgin.
And
Sounded like a soundboard.
and so we already told you which episodes we watched. Do y'all want to talk about JoJo's now?
Dude,
Do you
I
want to
would
get
love
right into
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
nothing more.
I
than
would
talk
love
about
to.
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure arc, part 1. What is it called? What's the first part?
Phantom
Phantom
Blood.
Blood.
Mask?
Phantom
Blood?
Menace,
Phantom
yeah.
Phantom Menace.
Mask
Yeah.
of the Phantasm.
I do love it when things have Phantom in the name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say that much. Clayton, what are your thoughts? You've seen the first 3 episodes. This is also your second time technically watching these first 3 episodes.
Yes. So I've made it through this part of the series before. My thoughts. I'll pull up my notes so I have exact stuff. I gotta say, I have dysgraphia. I can't take notes very good, and so most of my notes are not gonna make any sense. But the literal first note that I have written down is, "Damn, this shit is fast." In all caps.
Yeah, I was waiting
feel
for
like
that.
the first 3 episodes feels like it should have been at least 9 episodes.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just like they do so much so fast, and I don't know if it's paced like this in the manga, but it's just thing to thing to thing to where, like, by the end of the 3rd episode, Dio has killed Mr. Joestar and burned down the mansion, and he's a vampire now.
But
it's crazy.
But did you have fun?
I had a pretty good time. I think, honestly, the episode that I enjoyed the most was episode 1.
Yeah.
I don't know how long it's been, but that's the one where it's like all the way back at the beginning. Dio's a little baby, and Mr. Dio finds Mr. Joestar's dead body on the ground, and he goes to help him out. But he's not dead. But his wife is dead. But his baby is alive.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah.
And so then, obviously, the Joestars are in debt. And so young Dio is sent to the Joestar Manor. And the first thing he does is he steps out of the wagon. And that's the thing that I probably appreciated the most is they are not... There's no like middle ground with Dio where it's like, this is the most vile scumbag. There is no redeeming quality. He gets there and immediately kicks a dog in the face almost to death. Like the dog is like lying there twitching after he kicks it.
So I personally like think that it's a huge red flag when someone watches the first episode and doesn't like absolutely hate Dio with a passion. Like people, love him later, but that's a very normal reaction. Yeah.
Well, because the whole first episode is him, and a lot of the second episode too, is it's just him like ruthlessly ruining Jonathan. Yeah, Jonathan's life.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I missed something. This is also in my notes, but I don't know what the fuck he did.
Literally nothing.
What Jonathan did to deserve it?
It's like, because I get...
Eat the rich.
I would assume that Dio hates rich people, but he does not seem... I guess later he does kind of kill him, but... It seems like his biggest beef is with Jonathan and not the fucking oil tycoon or whatever. Does he have a first name, Old Man Joestar?
Yeah, George Joestar.
George Joestar.
You'll notice a lot of the Joestars have names that can be shortened to JoJo, even if they aren't the main protagonist.
Hell yeah.
But typically it's only in Japanese that they could be shortened to JoJo, if you read it in kanji.
Okay.
I can tell you, just a brief note. So it was confusing to me at first why Dio wants to do this to Jonathan, but I think at some point, blink and you'll miss it. He's like, if I don't ruin Jonathan's life and make him so ashamed that he leaves the family, then I won't be the heir to the fortune. His whole deal is like Dario, which is his father before he dies, is like, get rich. Bleh, and he dies. Yeah, he's like, that's his last thing to him, and he hates him, but he's like, I'm gonna show you by becoming rich after he spits on his grave.
I think that's the technical reason, why his motives, like how he justifies his motives, but I do think he's just fucking petty as hell. He's just very much like it's from an emotional place too.
He's an
I think
irredeemable, blonde-headed freak.
Yeah, and I genuinely I do enjoy that.
It's awesome.
As soon as I finished the first episode, I sent y'all a picture of my notes in the notes app that was referencing "It was me, Barry. I jerked you off," and that's 100% like that whole meme. The Reverse Flash ruining Barry Allen's life. That is 100% how Dio acts in this. Just like pathological, doing everything he can. He steals his first kiss from the girl, which is like a little like...
No, that part sucks. Yeah.
But it's just like an absolute like serial killer level at like 9 years old. And it's crazy.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
also
Got a head start.
is like a boxer, I guess, which was
Yeah.
crazy to me.
Every British
So they're
person.
12 and 13, I think. Jonathan's 12 when you meet him.
12 and 13.
Yeah, and Dio's 13. But by the time they're boxing, they kind of look like they're 17.
Uh-huh.
Wasn't that when they time skipped to
No,
being...
the time skips at the beginning of the next episode.
Right.
But yeah, you saw a lot of plot points. The first chapter, it really feels like they were trying to get through all of the drama and get straight to the action with the adaptation, which is, from what as far as we've read, kind of my biggest sort of complaint with the adaptation. Even though I do think they did a pretty good job considering the material. But yeah, you were rushing through a lot of plot points. They meet fucking dog dead.
Yeah,
The dog,
that
dog
was
gets put in the
crazy.
cooker, right?
And not even you're like halfway through the episode.
He gets put in a box and set in the furnace. So when the butler starts the furnace, he hears banging on the door and assumes somebody is inside, and it's a fucking dog. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
It's efficient.
And then episode 2, these guys are built. Mostly Jonathan. He's built like a fucking brick house.
Yeah.
He is huge.
Yeah.
Also, my first note. I don't remember writing this at all. My first note for episode 2 is Jack the Gripper. It was an exclamation point and a question mark. There's a mention of Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
I can't remember if that comes back. I think it does.
It will later. Spoiler.
Also,
Aiden's trying to remember where the fuck Jack the
Jack
Ripper
the
fits
Ripper.
into part 1.
Because it takes place.
Yeah, I
In
remember.
London
I
at
remember.
that
I
time.
remember now. I'm getting there.
Yeah.
My brain's a little foggy. I wanted to watch the first 3 episodes with Clayton, but I was unable to.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to shake all the moss off my brain from it being
Understandable.
barnacled up.
Yeah.
Also, very exciting. In episode 2, this is the first time because it's not in episode 1. We get the intro
Yeah.
song.
Yeah, I was gonna ask
What
you
do you-
about
how do
the
you feel
intro
about
song.
it?
I really like the video. I think this song specifically was not doing a whole lot for me, but the whole everything about like the video and the intro and everything
Yeah.
was cool.
Yeah.
I didn't much care for the song.
You didn't like the Jojo. You didn't like that?
I can't even hear it in my head. If I'm
Oh,
being
yeah.
honest.
It might grow on you.
I like it going.
Yeah.
"Bip, bip, biddle it, dit, dit, diddle it."
Yeah, that's a good
It grew on me. A lot of the songs.
Uh-huh.
The JoJo intros are very special. We will be talking about them in depth later on because they will become more prominent and important.
Hell yeah. I feel like every anime intro is either like iconic and amazing or just like a little boring.
Yeah.
JoJo's mainly has iconic ones.
Hell yeah.
I don't. There's not
For
single.
sure.
To me, they're the best in the business.
That's one of those things we didn't talk about on the first episode. Is
Right.
what
Yeah.
our personal favorite intros are. Which is maybe.
Do you have one?
I think I need to re-listen to all of them. I
Yeah.
think start of next week's episode, those of us that do, we should give our little rankings.
I'll prepare my answer.
Yeah,
I would love
you're gonna
lists.
hear my favorite pretty soon, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you also, at the end of these episodes, if I'm remembering correctly,
Oh,
you're getting the best JoJo song of all time.
Uh-huh.
The
So that truly, because I had a vague memory of this, but I did not think about it at all going into this. That was like a big thing on the internet when I was like in high school.
Right.
It's like all the
Yeah.
videos where it'd be like somebody's about to fall and hit their head, and then it's like boom, boom,
To be continued.
no.
Yeah.
And that song's great. Also, because the first one, I think, is at the end of episode 2, where they do like the long build up to that.
Yeah, they do the guitar
And that's
strums.
so good. That's
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
fucking
it's so
good.
fucking good.
That is like one of the most like iconic memories I have of watching early JoJo is like the episodes right when you would like start to get to the end, especially the ones with the long build up are so fun to have because you're like, oh, I know it's about to end, but I don't want it
Yeah.
to. It's such a great. That is such an amazing thing. that
It
they
was a
do.
great creative choice. The anime takes a lot of. You could tell they loved not only the source material, but Araki himself. Like they respected him because a lot of the song choices you'll hear in the outros are stuff he was listening to while he was writing the story.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and
Hell yeah.
it's it's.
I
gonna
know.
take- the
I know that
outro's-
he loves music. There's a
Yeah.
character in episode 3. I guess we'll get to that when I talk about episode 3.
Yeah.
Insane. But yeah, so then we episode 2 is mostly them becoming adults now. They look like they are like at least 35. They are, I think, in high school or college or something.
Like 19.
They're playing rugby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will say, adult Jonathan to me is a little bit boring. It just seems like, and I get that it's because it was literally written in like the 80s, right?
Yeah.
Like,
It's got protagonist syndrome.
yeah, very like Fist of the North Star. Like, he's the guy that's right, and he does the cool things.
Yes.
Yes.
I feel like that is easily saved, though, by how great Dio is.
Yeah.
Um,
Every time Dio's in a room with Jonathan feels more interesting to me, at least. I don't know if that's something that, like,
yeah.
you experience.
Because Jonathan's whole character is just being the Superman type
Yeah.
of just like an unyielding,
noble.
pursuit. And I think those are always most interesting when challenged by an unending, like, evil pursuit.
Yeah.
know?
Uh-huh.
But when
And-
he's isolated, it gets a little boring.
Yeah, when they're together, that is truly like you can. It's like all working. When Dio is alone, he's still awesome. When Jonathan is alone, though, it's like, where's Dio at? There is a scene in the second episode where they fight, and Dio is gonna do the thing where he like punches him in the face and then tries to gouge his eye with his thumb. And this time, Jonathan's learned.
Yeah.
That was pretty nice. I like
Yeah.
that.
Comeuppance.
But yeah, the second episode, just more the same. Eventually, I think Jonathan comes wise that Dio is poisoning Mr. Joestar, and so he goes to Ogre Alley to look for evidence, and ends up in a big fight with people there where he meets. I'm actually realizing it happens in this episode. Robert E.O.
Oh, man.
Because I know they do that with like stands later
Right.
on, but doing it with like a human being.
You did
is
not
crazy.
know that there was a guy with that name.
I could remember vaguely that there was a guy named Speedwagon, but I wasn't thinking about it, and I did not know that his name was Robert E.O. Speedwagon.
Yeah, pretty much all their names, I could tell you, are musical. Every character you've met is a musical reference. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Dio is obvious, I guess.
Yeah.
Is there something is that like?
Well, no, the Joestars are the exception.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I'm
No,
trying to
you're
think
good,
of
you're good.
what other. I think it's mostly. That's kind of the only like characters so far that we've met.
There was a guy named is the guy named Tom Petty later?
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. Sorry,
Okay.
spoiler. I'm sorry.
You're good.
No,
You're
I-
good.
Yeah, real Tom
Arena
Petty.
is
Yeah.
actually, because of pronunciation reasons, it is a reference to Eleanor Rigby.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. She's sitting in a church corridor.
Yeah.
Um,
that is what she does.
then episode 2 ends, and then episode 3 is mostly just a big fight.
Yeah, the mansion.
Which there's so much that happens at this fucking mansion. They kill Dio, and Dio has become a vampire. He's cast aside his humanity.
Doesn't he get like shot by a firing squad? Am I remembering
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
correctly?
So Dio-
Just a bunch of cops riddle him with bullets.
That's
Dio-
a good part in the opening too. I like. Yeah.
But he puts on the mask because I didn't in episode 2 he like talks to this guy and puts the mask on him to test it. Then the guy becomes a vampire, and Dio almost dies, which I like. I like that early Dio is like he's very smart, but he's like just a guy basically.
Yeah.
And so he casts aside his humanity, which I think is pretty cool, and becomes a vampire. And then that starts like a 5-minute battle. I remember this the first time I was watching, where I was watching this episode and they started fighting, and I was like, is this the end of part 1? Because literally every character we know is dead, and the house is burning down, and Jonathan tackles Dio into a blazing inferno.
Funny enough, I think he considered ending it there. It almost was a short story. Araki considered ending it multiple times, and then he kept not doing it.
And then he woke up with visions.
Yeah.
And he was like, I gotta write
He
this
gets
down.
these, oh my god, that fucking wow, there was a Reddit post or something. There was like there was like information about his wife or something where she walked in on him. He's a very interesting guy, and he has a very interesting relationship with people. Where his wife walked in on him like drawing and writing JoJo, and he just made it like a crazy sound. He just went "Ah!" because he was like possessed. He was like, writing so hard.
Hell yeah.
It was amazing.
I want to get there so bad. I want to like write so hard it overtakes my body.
That's how it feels when I'm reading it. Actually, That's
Hell
actually-
yeah. And yeah, that's most of the plot. We don't have to. I don't think in the future we don't have to like summarize it every time.
No, I
that
love
was
that.
just the easiest way for me to go through it in my head.
Yeah.
But bottom line for me, I'm having great fun so far,
Cool.
and I think this is very nice for me because having like watching these, knowing that I'm going to get to talk about it
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
y'all, very helpful. And like whenever I do get bored, I can. It is much easier to motivate myself to continue.
Yeah.
Speedwagon has his like blade hat in the.
Okay.
Yeah. How did you feel about the bizarre parts?
Yeah.
Like, what were the parts that you would categorize as like, oh, this is the bizarre jumped out?
Honestly, nothing got too bizarre yet. There's the mask that like shoots his little fangs out and turns people into vampires.
Yeah.
That's like bizarre in a way. There is Zappelli and his not Zappelli. I keep calling him Zappelli because I know there's a character Zappelli
Yeah.
that I don't really remember a whole lot about. But Speedwagon and his goons. I also like in the subtitles they're like, "Oi, mister," which is just, it's funny because of course if I was hearing that in a language that I spoke, I would surely hear it like that. But it's so hard for my brain to be like. Yeah, they have British accents
When they're speaking Japanese. Yeah.
But that was a little funky. He had his little hat that he threw that made me think of Kung Lao, or the guy from. Honestly, it was probably based off. I assume the guy from James Bond.
Odd Job.
Yeah, Odd
Probably.
Job. And so he throws it, and then JoJo does the classic like old school shonen thing where he's like. I can afford to sacrifice a few fingers for some answers. And the Speedwagon's like, what? He's willing to cut off his own fingers. And that's when he kind of like gives up. But so far, this has been, this is what I would call JoJo's strange adventure. Nothing quite so bizarre just
Yeah.
yet.
JoJo's
Really?
quirky adventure.
All the falling that they did in that mansion. You didn't think about how they were falling for 5 minutes? That didn't.
Well, they fell for a little bit, but pretty immediately Dio like dug his hand into the wall, and then JoJo started falling, and he grabbed something and stabbed it into the wall.
Yeah, a lot of things happen in that fall. That's one of my favorite. That was like the moment I'm like, okay, if this keeps happening in fights, I'm gonna watch this show forever. Because I don't know, when I first watched it, that stuck out to me as like. It made me cackle. Like, that was why I got through part one, because I was waiting to cackle more.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I do remember in that part, Dio starts plunging his feet into the wall to walk horizontally, which I enjoyed. I thought that was fun. But yeah, I had a great, fun time, and I'm excited to watch more of it.
Awesome. About going off the bizarre, and how long are we? How long is... Have we already? How much
We're at
time?
20 minutes.
We're 20 minutes. Okay, so I guess we can wrap this up if we have like specific questions. But I guess like going off the bizarre thing, how's like the art style and art direction working for you?
I think so far I'm enjoying a lot of the character designs.
Yeah.
Just because I know these characters and I've like seen them in other things, I know that like Dio. Thus far has not really looked like I know he looks.
Yeah.
There's a really racist character design in the second episode. The guy that Dio buys poison from,
Right. Yeah.
he's got like a big. I actually don't know the proper thing to call that mustache anymore, but he's very clearly like a racist Asian design.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
kind of unfortunate, especially then when he starts talking about like his mystical knowledge of the arcane.
Yeah. Which is weird when you think about it, because it's like this is written and illustrated by an Asian man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm not trying to cancel. I'm not trying to cancel the guy.
I think that's all just a product of the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Where
I'm
it's like it was that deep that it was
Yeah.
like everybody was making those kind of characters.
Mm-hmm.
And then I enjoy the design so far.
Mm-hmm.
The color stuff I know gets like more interesting than it has been in these episodes. They've done like a
Yeah.
little bit of it.
Yeah.
You mean the palette changes?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I also like. I really enjoy the birthmark thing. Like
Yeah.
Dio's 3 spots on his neck and Jonathan's star. I don't think they've even mentioned the
So you
star
mean the
yet.
3
Yeah.
on the ear?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the ear.
Yeah. Well, that's a fun fact for you if you care to know.
I would love to.
The Joestar birthmark is a retcon that they included in the anime because they had the benefit of hindsight because it's really introduced in part 3 as a plot point. So you never actually see it in the manga in part 1 and 2, but in the anime, if you look for it, they put it there on the left shoulder.
And
Yeah.
a lot of people get tattoos of it. And,
Yes.
And it's awesome.
Yeah, if I got it, I have to stop myself from considering
Yeah.
getting that as a tattoo because it's played out. Okay, it's cool, but I just can't.
How about this? So this is obviously we've discussed putting in our podcast name JoJo versus One Piece. When we get to the end of these series, we have a vote for who wins, and whoever the winning team is, we have to get either all One Piece tattoos or JoJo tattoos
I cannot consent to that. I don't know if I'll ever get a tattoo
on our
my
faces.
God.
Yeah, right in the
Yep.
forehead.
on the forehead. Okay,
That's awesome.
I'll think about it.
Okay.
I will definitely
Okay.
think about it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I wrote a few things down, but if you guys have anything you want to ask about, please go ahead.
I'm struggling because again, I was really hoping to rewatch. I need to rewatch like the episodes again next time because I'm realizing how much I just truly do not remember about like.
It's
Yeah.
not your fault with part 1.
Yeah,
It's
there's some
yeah.
iconic things, but I don't remember a lot of that fight. I think I also had the same feelings you did, Clayton, when I was like, "Oh, is this the end of this arc? They're gonna kill this guy right now? Damn, okay."
yeah.
Where did it ever talk about in the show where the mask came from? Is that something that's talked about in the first 3 episodes?
All we know is, well, go ahead. You probably.
Okay.
Are more specific
So
about
yeah, they do mention like they briefly allude to in the anime, but in the manga they just straight up say that there's a whole the first scene from the manga is completely cut out of the anime where it shows I think it's an Aztec tribe in ancient Mexico performing a ritual with the mask, a sacrificial ritual with a mask. So it as you'll come to find out. Yeah, it comes from like Middle America, like yeah. So that is and it makes sense because rich people love stealing archaeological artifacts.
True.
George Joestar.
Yeah.
Giorgio.
Yeah.
Georgia.
How'd you feel about George's death? Knowing it's 3 episodes in, but bam, already like there's kind of like this thing that's supposed to be tragic. How did that read for you?
I would say I'm a big fan of and it has to be done well, but like overly kind-hearted characters that are just like extremely virtuous. I really enjoy that when it's written well, and we may be seeing some of that in One Piece. Hopefully, that we can talk about. But Mr. George, I thought was fun while he was around. He was kind of a dumb shit where Dio was coming in and trying to kill his son right in front of him, but then the reveal. Which only makes him more of a dumb shit, kind of. But I liked it when he reveals that he knew the whole time that Dio's dad was like a piece of shit and a burglar, but he still took him in and like treated him as if he owed him a debt. I liked that a lot.
That's how it feels to be an older sibling. is to be like, he's literally trying to kill me, please ground him, and he's like, no, it's fine.
Yeah.
Stop fighting, you guys.
Especially I have adopted siblings that came
try to
from,
kill.
that came from burglars.
Yeah.
Every time.
Burglar.
But they're adopted, and so being like college age, and then suddenly when I'm visiting my parents at home, there's literal babies there, and I'm like, you got to throw them away. You got to get them out of here.
Damn,
But
so this struck
I
a
love
chord
them
for
very
you.
much. Yes.
Wow.
And Dio's relationship to JoJo is exactly like my relationship with my younger brother and sister.
Wow.
Damn. Are you the Dio or are you the Jonathan?
Dio.
Oh, okay.
They've gone through like 7 dogs.
Yeah.
Clayton
They
keeps
are,
throwing them
they
in the
are
air.
going to be so jacked when they get older.
Yeah. I kind of have to agree with you. Part of me wishes that half of part 1 had been like, hey, tell us more about what happened in those 7 years.
Yeah.
Where Dio and Jonathan are just like, you know, quote unquote now getting along because that's Dio's new strategy.
Uh-huh.
You know, because yeah, I remember being like, whoa, they're playing rugby together, they're getting along, and then that's immediately thrown away. They're like, in their heads, they're like, yeah, we don't like each other.
It's especially because we're supposed to believe kind of. It's presented as like they have been getting along flawlessly for these 7 years. And then all of a sudden, as soon as we check back in, Jonathan's like, wait a second. Wait, this guy killed my fucking dog. Like, I guess he had just forgotten for a long
I
time.
think it was more like he's not giving me a reason to, like, you know, he's not raising any red flags, but there's still very much, you know, you meet people and you could just tell that there's something evil in that, even that, but they're like, you know, they just know how to play the audience. So,
And that's a credit to Jonathan because he's still giving Dio the benefit of the doubt, knowing that he came from like, you know, a bad background.
Yep.
Which is, you know, the humane thing to do.
True.
You know?
True.
Jonathan grew on me personally. I thought he was very kind of bland at first, but you know, you look back on characters like that, and you appreciate those things. You know, the intent.
I can typically enjoy that archetype of character. I just think that with the amount of time that he gets to get fleshed out, so far not doing a whole lot for me. But
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Well, is there anything else that we want to talk about specifically with JoJo before we move on to just One Piece? Just only One Piece.
No,
anybody?
I got nothing.
All right.
I don't want to hear.
time.
I don't want to hear a single thing about JoJo.
Okay.
Okay. You hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay.
Loud and clear.
All right.
I talked about JoJo a little bit, or I talked about One Piece a little bit in this last section.
I
Y'all
think
can
the
get a
whole
few.
point is that we can talk about it at the same time. So there's a lot of the similar, you know, like
You want us to compare and contrast?
Yes.
I was riffing.
There's like 2 episodes. There's 2
Yeah.
episodes of 2 different shows.
And we're
edited
making
together.
them fight.
Yeah.
And we're making them kiss.
Do you want us to get confused about which show's which? I will just mix them up.
Guys, what did y'all think? I guess for me, there was just one of us, but I think maybe we should go around and hear everybody's first thoughts.
Sure.
Who would like to go first?
I'll go first. I did not know that his first name was Monkey,
Uh-huh.
so that is the truth.
And I should clarify that is Monkey is his family name. It's just like that thing, like in My Hero, and a lot of animes will like swap them.
I totally forgot that was a thing. Yeah.
But Monkey is the family name.
Okay.
He is Monkey D. Luffy. There may be other Monkey Bobs or something
Monkey
like that.
Bob.
Wait, so is D his middle? Is it like, or is his first
D
name?
is his middle initial.
Oh, okay. Is that because I know in Japan the family name goes first?
Yes.
But the middle. Okay, yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. Wait,
Yeah.
does that mean that Zoro's name is Zoro his first name and then Roronoa?
Yeah. Roronoa is his family name, and
Oh.
Zoro is his name.
Okay.
That just changed the game. That changed this whole thing for me.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
go on, Andrew.
I'm actually going to pull up my notes.
Hell yeah.
I think they are also kind of incomprehensible at certain points.
That works.
Okay, everyone's like dragging him because he couldn't swim. He's like
Uh-huh.
a little kid, and you can't swim, you'll never be a pirate.
Uh-huh.
And I could be wrong, but I think that historically a lot of pirates couldn't swim, right? And they would just go out there and like raw dog it.
I believe that is true.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's
Uh-huh.
kind of based.
Also, not to jump in right away as well, but World of One Piece, a lot of the best pirates in the world had devil fruits. Like, obviously, it gives you magic powers, and then you just don't gotta swim. Come on.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, I guess that's why. Okay, yeah, they knew. I thought it was like some like once in a lifetime thing or whatever that you come across one. But yeah, it was very cute. I like that's another similarity to JoJo's, like it's childhood and then a time skip or whatever.
Yeah.
And that was neat. Also, the first episode, I said that there was a guy who reminded me of Puss in Boots. It was not the guy that I was talking about. It was the red-haired with the captain.
Shanks?
Yes,
Shanks?
yeah.
Shanks
It was-
reminds you of Puss in Boots?
No, not
Okay,
from the
okay.
first chapter, but like
Uh-huh.
after the time skip, there's this one panel. I was like, oh my god, that's the one I saw.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, completely
Which
not.
panel?
Doesn't mean I could pull it up after we
okay.
record this, but it's really funny. It's like, what else? All of this is just random stuff. It was very fun. I like the dynamic. I also sent this in the chat for my notes. I just showed it to you. Was the dynamic of he's just like, I am going to go apeshit and you can do nothing about it. And everyone like loses their mind and then everything works out. And it's pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then a lot of the characters, Kobe was like not too annoying. I think Josh was more annoyed by him than I was.
That's fair.
But I thought it was cool. I also thought it was cool that like Luffy has this like kind of like you could expect that he would have this pitfall of like I only care about my goal and I'm not, committing, atrocities to achieve it, but I'm also like not, letting anything get in the way. Mm-hmm. But he like genuinely was trying to help him out. And I was like, that's neat. So he has some like altruism, but, kind of head empty a lot of time, which is fun. But I don't know. Yeah, I liked Zoro hated axe in the arm.
Captain Morgan
poking out the elbow. I hated looking at that. I hated thinking about that. I hated everything about that.
Yeah, it's a visceral. Like it's such an amazing choice. It's so visceral to have that, just like that protrusion.
Like, oh my god, yeah.
I like too because at first you're like, why the fuck did they stick it down his armhole? But it's because he grabs the handle through his elbow. I guess skin. I believe there's a panel where he does grab the handle.
Yes, he uses it for leverage.
Oh,
which is crazy. That is worse. 100%.
Me and Adriana are both like testing it with our arms right now to see how that feels.
It's more like a.
Because it's like if you grab your elbow, it's like grabbing beneath your elbow. It doesn't give you any.
No, it's
extra
all
leverage.
in your wrist.
Well, it's all in the bid. Like if I'm going down, am I pushing?
Insane.
Like, am I pushing down?
Did he die? Did he die, or did he just get punched?
Morgan, I think he just got punched.
Okay.
Oh, I thought he got like killed.
Yeah, no. Luffy is 100%. Luffy doesn't spare lives like actively, but he's not like, now I've got you and I'm gonna slit your fucking throat.
Yeah.
But he's totally okay if you die if you fight him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. The art style, I've noticed it's very like there's such like a dichotomy of like there's like normal guys and then there's like
Fucked
what
up.
are you?
Yeah.
And it's insane. Which I can't complain too much because like I've seen some like unpleasant designs in One Piece so far, but also at the same time like Pesci exists, which you'll meet him later. But just insane design. And it's always the bad guys or the like not important characters. I think once there is I don't know if this might happen, but once there is a character who is important and reoccurring, who has like a really outlandish design in that style, it might be hard to adjust to.
Yeah.
But so far, everybody's like, It's cute. I like the the baseline art style.
Yeah.
It's cute.
It will also, I think, it only gets more drastic from here as it goes on. Like every other character is like not human shaped. Personally, I really appreciate that, and I think that it will grow on y'all. But only time will tell.
That he loves drawing people's mouths open in a really specific way.
Those really like just a gape with like the sharp teeth.
You can see the curve of like dentures. Like it's like a denture that's like snapping on the floor.
Oda loves his mouths.
Yeah, it reminds me of the monkey with the cymbals toy for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know.
100%.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I feel like I'm going through all. I feel like I could just jump in later with the specifics of things, but but something that you said, you were going to keep track of how many times that you were going to cry.
Yes.
I did not expect to get one cry like in the first volume.
You cried?
I did cry.
Yeah. Can you guess? Can you guess what it was?
Gonna say, I have the guess of what it is.
Oh, okay.
Clayton, can you?
Yeah.
You want to guess?
I have a guess. Is it Zoro talking to Kuina?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a really good scene.
My mouth dropped.
No, I read it and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. His ally Oda? That was crazy. And then, you know, she died.
That is
like
falling down the that is what an insane shift.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, that flashback is really good. Also, speaking of trans ally Oda, I'll just drop a little in here. In the future, there's some not great, but there's also a lot of great, very explicit and awesome trans representation in the world of One Piece.
Yeah.
That is handled very well.
Yeah, I wasn't even like yes, that level definitely rounded it out really like emotionally really nice, but even if that wasn't there, even if it was just like that feeling just as a woman, that still hits really hard, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah. And then
that was insane.
And I was not gonna lie, I was like, we finished the first 7 chapters, and the next one was when Nami gets introduced, and I was like, oh cool, but also I was nervous, I'm not gonna lie, because I was like, okay, first like Aldiva or whatever, she was like not really.
Yeah, that was not awesome.
Yeah. But I was like, okay, at least it's not. We're done with that. Maybe not, but but yeah, I knew Nami was a big character, so I was like, I was really nervous about how she was going to be introduced, but it was pretty neat. She's a grifter, and I like her so far. I mean, just one chapter, but yeah.
I guess to touch on that briefly, I will say One Piece is very political. There's a lot of things that Oda handles great there. The women in One Piece are written very well. Just to set this up way ahead of time, way late in the story, I don't know if it's due to like industry pressures or stuff like that, the way Oda draws women takes an unfortunate turn later on. And it's something that sucks a lot.
Yes.
For the most part, though, we're going to have a lot of fun with Nami and any other women that might show up and be integral to the story. Nami especially is one of the best parts of early One Piece, and y'all will find out what I mean very soon.
Cool.
Excited.
Hell yeah.
Yippee.
Yeah.
You guys can.
Cool.
I was a big fan of Nami too.
Yeah, Nami so far, I mean, we've only gotten like a little bit, but her doing the whole thing where she drops down is like, hey, boss, thanks for coming, and then bolts.
Yeah.
I was like, I love this because it's like such a, because it's like in the first like couple things, like, you know, Luffy and Kobe and Zoro are all kind of still in their own kind of way, like a little bit like honor bound in a sense, where they're like, oh, I'm gonna like do what's right for these other people. They have different ways of expressing that. You know, Luffy's a little bit more open to getting people into harm's way, but having the first character drop down and immediately throw someone under the bus, I was like, okay, cool. I liked that as her introduction. I thought it was super fun.
I can already see the potential for like vibe she's gonna bring, and that's cool.
I don't know how old she's supposed to be yet.
I would struggle to recall the exact ages. I believe all of the main characters, I believe currently Luffy is, and I'm going to fuck it up because they age as the story goes on, of course. And so I don't remember where they start, where they end. I think Luffy's 15 right now, or he's 15 or 17.
Because he's still young enough to
It
be
was
called
10
kid
years.
by...
But it was 10 years later, so he would have had to be 5.
5
if he
to
was
7.
Let me look it up to find 100% sure. I believe Zoro is 18 currently.
What?
Really? I would have thought
He
Zoro
seems
was like
20
22.
20-something.
28.
Because he calls Luffy kid, right?
Yeah.
He's like, "Ooh,
Yeah.
what are you
Yes.
doing, kid?"
Let me
Which
find
I
out
guess
for sure.
If I was like 18 and I met like a 15-year-old, I'd call him kid. Yeah.
Okay,
makes
Luffy
sense.
is 17 currently.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Roronoa Zoro is, as of the beginning of the story, 19.
Okay.
Okay.
That seems
Still a little.
Okay, so not
Younger
a
than I
big
would've
age
expected.
difference. I thought that there was a much larger age gap between those two
Yeah, me
characters.
too.
Yeah.
2 years.
Okay, no, that makes sense.
Cool.
You know what I was not expecting?
What's that?
I laughed out loud.
Yeah, baby.
Multiple
Yes, me
times
too,
over
yeah.
the
Yeah.
course of the story, and it's like I am not when I am consuming media by myself. I am not someone who frequently has, frequently laughs out loud. A lot of my favorite shows of all time, I don't always laugh out loud during moments. But there's something about One Piece that has gotten a couple really just solid, funny moments. The end of the first chapter where he's just like, wow, I didn't
In the
think my
whirlpool.
journey would end in a giant whirlpool. And the
Yeah.
next panel is just this impending doom. And he's just sitting there with his arms crossed.
Yeah.
I fucking lost it.
Yeah.
Fully lost it. I can't remember what the other part was. There was some other part that really got me laughing.
One of mine was when he was like, "Oh yeah, sure. Do you want some milk?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure." I was like, "You fool! No pirates drink milk.
And he was like,
L plus ratio plus you're a milk drinker."
No, I thought it was awesome. I'm gonna go ahead and I think I can make the declarative statement that Luffy is the greatest character in any fiction to ever exist.
Well, okay.
I think he is
Come on,
amazing.
traitor, dude.
No, he's so fun. I love the way he's written because it's like he is following that like inherently good, unending force for good, positive always person, but in a way that I've never really seen those characters written before, where it's like he is doing good, but he's not actively trying to do good. He just is a good person, and the actions he takes have a positive impact on the world.
I think the biggest kind of differentiator is that Luffy is like not bound to any code.
Yeah.
One of my favorite Luffy moments, and this is something you're not going to... I'll say this a couple times early on, but you won't hear me say it too much. This is something that the anime, a moment that the anime actually delivers on a little better than the manga, is in the bar when Kobe is... When Luffy and Zoro are about to leave, and Kobe is like, "Wait, Luffy, aren't you going to say bye to me?" And Luffy's like, "What you say, you little shit?" And he like keeps talking to him about Alvida to provoke Kobe to hit him.
Yeah.
And then just beats the fucking shit out of him. In the anime, it's like a solid 30 seconds of Luffy like smacking the fuck out of Kobe and just beating him to
Oh
a
my
pulp.
God.
And so that way, then of course the Navy's like, okay, kid, we
Yeah.
get it. Hey, y'all are not friends. We get it. And so it's like Luffy will help people, but he'll do that however he sees fit because he's a pirate.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It truly is amazing. I think another one of my favorite moments was there were two moments, both involving guns that I think the second part that I maybe laughed at was when he was like, "All right, everybody, kill yourselves now," and all of
my God.
That was awesome.
they had
He
rifles
turns into
too. It was all
low-tier
rifles.
guy.
They had to two-hand it to hold it to kill themselves. But that early moment with like Shanks when the bandit was like taken like they were having that first little challenge, and the guy pulls the gun on Shanks. And then like Shanks is like backup guy, like he's like, be careful where you point guns, and then the backup guy just fully shoots the other guy in the head. I was like, it was such a great like early tone setter for being like, because I did not expect it to like, I was not expecting a full murder right there.
Shanks and the whole first chapter, I think, one great introduction to Luffy, him stabbing himself in the face, beautiful, and then two, everything they do to set up like the tone of the story and just the way pirates operate, and especially the way like good pirates operate, like the whole thing with Shanks and like Higuma coming in and like trashing all of his food and like dumping beer on his head, and then Shanks laughs it off. But really, it's just because Shanks, like, this guy's a fly to Shanks, and he doesn't want to like cause trouble over nothing. I think it's amazing. It's a perfect introduction to Shanks and to like the kind of ideals of the world. And I think it's great.
Yeah,
I think it was also that whole the whole Shanks episode or chapter you want to call it, also just kind of felt like a little bit of talk about masculinity, like toxic masculinity, and versus just being a fucking normal person. And I like that Shanks, who seems to be this sort of impetus for Luffy, is like this actually decent role model.
Yep.
Based and left pilled. That's what
I think that is a great point. And you'll see that a lot through One Piece. Is that masculinity is portrayed in a very like they show so many ways to be masculine without being toxic, and I think it has been kind of instrumental for me in the time that I like started getting back into One Piece. Was in kind of a shifting point for me, and I like that a lot. And it'll especially get into that with characters that come in later.
I'm excited.
Awesome.
I really thought my last. I think I had two other things. The only thing I wrote down in my notes was the quote that I was like, yeah, this is the best quote, when Luffy was like, I don't care who his father is, scum is scum. I really liked that little moment. I thought that was a great moment. I think the other thing that I viscerally remember from reading it is I thought they fully killed Kobe when he gets shot in the arm and that panel of him like falling onto the ground. I was like,
continuity error.
Holy
He just walks that shit off.
He just gets up and walks up. But it's just like, I was like, when I saw that panel, I was like, oh, he's dead. And it's like, that was just like, cool, we're here now. We're going to kill Kobe, and there's going to be no reason for it.
I have fully been disproven for so many of my character predictions, because I thought that Kobe was going to be like their navigator or whatever by the end of it, for sure. Because they were like, wow, you sure need a navigator. And I was like, I wonder who will be their navigator. And then also I thought for sure that Shanks was going to die in the first chapter just to like set off the whole backstory, tragic backstory. But yeah,
I think what I'm seeing so far that I know you've talked about in that thing of like they didn't kill Shanks, and I think that's a good decision. I think a lot of mentors get killed early in stories when they have a lot of potential to have a lot of good stuff in the story, but like Oda really seems to know like how to utilize his characters really well, because it's like Kobe, obviously we got Kobe going into the Navy, and that's gonna be a problem eventually, and it's like it's such an innocent thing to have right now, and it's like this is such a great way to like establish this thing, and it's like, oh, here's a back pocket little plot thread that whenever it is most important for this like breakdown to happen of, because I mean I know we've talked a little bit about how it's like the Navy is the cops and they kind of suck, and so it's like I fully expect, my prediction is like when that theme is reaching its head is when someone like Kobe is going to be reintroduced to be like, okay, but there are people in the Navy who are like good, genuine people, or maybe even reintroducing and being like, okay, well, what is being in the Navy done to this person who went in there as a noble cause? I think it's like these little elements of things to be like such a perfect way to introduce things and not be wasted early in the story. And
There's a billion ways that Kobe joining the Navy could come back later. And
it could come back multiple times.
Yeah.
Yep.
For sure. I was curious, like, is it normally, like, would you say that this is a really unpredictable series? Like, it subverts your expectations a lot?
I would probably say so. I think it is. It very much plays by its own rules in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of stuff in, like, character archetypes and that kind of thing that you will certainly see, like, okay, this dynamic is obviously inspired by.
Blueprint?
Yes. Mm-hmm. That's a great example. Even is that sometimes things will come in and they'll be heavily inspired by. There was, for example, a character that was brought in later in the story, much later, to be kind of a Vegeta to Luffy's, like, Goku in a sense. And Oda very quickly was like, I'm bored of this. This needs to change drastically.
Awesome.
And just finds out what he needs to do to make it very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily like a story of huge twists, but I would also say that I don't think it's something that's going to be, like, extremely predictable or obvious or anything like that.
Sorry, there's a bug on my glasses.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Also, the fight choreography. One of the things I was worried about going into reading One Piece is I struggle to follow fights when they're written in manga sometimes, and comic fights. Sometimes it's really hard to follow what's going on sometimes. But in the panels, they were choreographed really well. I never really had any confusion as to the movement of the scenes. Like, it felt very easy to visualize the movements of the fights, which I really appreciated.
Hell yeah. Josh, I would love we haven't heard much from you, your opinions of the series so far. I would love to hear it.
It's all right. It's okay.
Okay.
Bye. No, so far I like it.
Uh-huh.
So far I like it. I second a lot of what they've said so far. Actually, just to piggyback off of what you just said about the fights, I'm actually noticing I like a lot of the action panels. I'm hoping we get more of that. Like, so far it hasn't been very action-oriented, as much as you'd expect from, like, a shonen, but which I'm fine with. But I've noticed there's been a lot of... I wrote down at some point in this literal last chapter, stop skipping fights. Stop skipping over fights.
That.
They just kind of, like... They're like, oh, what are you going to do, Zoro? And then cut. And then they're just beat the fuck up. And he's like, oh, sorry. Sorry, Zoro.
That was a good... If he had to pick one time to use that, I think that would have been the time.
That's fine to do it every once in a while. But, like, I think, like, 2 or 3 separate times in that chapter it happened, and I'm fine with that. I'm hoping to get some interesting fights, not necessarily like hand to hand combat. I don't need any of that. But just something. I guess so far it's been Luffy. Oh, there's a threat. Well, time for my gum, and then he one fell swoop just beats the shit out of them, which. You know what? That's fine. When you're starting a story, you got to establish how invincible, the main guy is. That makes sense. So I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Okay. And I will say real quick, I think something that is very much in this series' strength is obviously it's a very large world. We haven't seen too much of this world yet, but we just know there's a lot out there. There's a lot for Luffy to go see. There is a very consistent ceiling where... early on, we get an idea for what a great pirate looks like. And Luffy and his ability is very consistent. He doesn't do, like, a lot of training. So for a while, you may see Luffy kind of beat down on some people until his limits do get tested a bit.
I still don't know if knives hurt him or not.
Knives hurt him.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, bullets don't. Which I liked.
But I was just like, he just almost got stabbed so many times now. And, like, we never have seen him, like, get cut or anything.
Yes.
But, like, I figured, but yeah.
To more properly, I guess, like, express my feelings, and feel free to cut in at any time. But I'm going to try to be concise here, because I did try to write notes. The vibe is immaculate.
Oh, yeah?
From the first page, I actually loved just the first page, where it's like you got this dastardly guy, And he's like, yeah, try finding my One Piece. And then the world is just cheering, like, yeah, let's go. I thought that was great. And then it beautifully moves into the title, the chapter cover, or the volume cover, which is just, Luffy and a bunch of fun-looking characters just, like, flying into the horizon. I was like, okay, this is going to be really fun. And so far, it's been so fun. It's reminding me a lot of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah.
In terms of its vibe.
Called
And I think... if I'm wrong, was One Piece not some sort of influence like that they've stated that like on Avatar?
Not that I am aware of.
I'm assuming it's going to keep kind of the joyful vibe, because I remember in Avatar it started off really like light, and they kind of like there'd be dark moments, but for the most part it was just like, yeah, la 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 la, we're on an adventure. But so far, yeah, I'm liking the vibe. The art style's unique. I'll give it credit for that. Sometimes I look at something I don't want to look at.
Yeah.
But hey, that's part of the journey. I'm on it with them. Kobe was annoying me a bit. I don't like his face. I really don't. It's just one of those faces, you
said that, and I realized why his face was bothering us so much, and I think that it just kind of reminded me of the NFT monkey a lot.
Yeah, he's a bored ape.
that checks out.
Yeah,
he's got that like hanging neck and then the long.
So true.
Oda,
unfortunate. Yeah,
Oda's a crypto bro, confirmed. I wrote at some point in. Oh yeah. Chapter 2 was just me not enjoying Kobe and enjoying how Luffy was making fun of him. Yeah, like when he was like Kobe starts like freaking out about something and Luffy just decks him and he's like, what was that for? And he's just like, you were being hysterical. It was awesome. Luffy's a vibe. I want to know more about his character. If he ends up just being a vibe the whole time, I'm okay with that. But I would hope that we kind of get a little bit more of backstory in between, like what happened in that time skip. But we'll see.
Yeah.
I wrote Blood thinks he's on the team whenever Kobe was like joining him or whatever for this adventure. I knew that he was not gonna be on the main crew, and I was fine with that. Although I do know some things that I won't say.
What?
I won't even say what they're about.
Okay.
But just I need everyone here to know that I know them.
Okay.
All
right. Roronoa. I'm gonna need to understand how to pronounce that. Roronoa.
You don't really.
Okay.
You can just call him Zora.
Okay. Love Zoro so far. Yes. From his introduction.
Yes.
He's badass. He's slick. He's a little funny sometimes. A little goofy. Most of the time, he's just like he's getting shit done.
Yeah. He's tied up where anybody could breed him if he's not careful.
So true. So fucking true.
Zoro to me, I love all the straw hats very much. Zoro's a sex object.
Yeah.
That is his purpose on the clip.
He's hot and he's swift and he's strong, and I mean what else can you
He got
ask
that green hair.
His design so far, my favorite design, very simple.
It's a great
the
design.
green sash on the dude. Yeah, no, he's my guy already. Something I noticed is that the conversations, the dialogue just moves like at a million miles an hour in a way where it's like, yeah, I maybe am not the intended audience for this. This is definitely for like 10 to 15-year-olds to read and to learn about fascism, which I love. I can, if I look at it from that lens, I really appreciate it, but I am like excited because I know that people say it gets better, much better, and I do enjoy the feeling of like I'm on the ride for something that I know is iconic, and I'm finally having these questions that I didn't even know I had answered. So I'm excited to see how it deepens.
I'm glad. I think too. I quite like these chapters. For a couple of weeks, we're going to be seeing One Piece when it is good, and eventually we will get to One Piece when it's great.
Cool.
Same thing with JoJo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. Excited for both of those things.
So, do you have more to?
Yeah. I'm like almost through it. Sorry, do you want to say
No,
something?
I've just something that I
No,
thought
go ahead.
It's like
no, please.
watching this has weirdly enough made me I need you all to trust me here.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
It has made me a little excited for the live action One Piece show.
Oh, yeah.
I still don't think the live action One Piece show will be good. I don't think that live action anime adaptations have the capacity to be great. However, if they are able to capture the dynamic, because you brought up the dialogue,
Yeah.
and that's what made me think about it, is like, if they are able to capture that snappy, like, back and forth dialogue and they have the chemistry there, it'll be a fun time.
If they have, I don't think they can do it.
No, that's what's so hard to almost every time happens is that they start taking itself too seriously about
Yeah.
everything, and this especially feels like a kids show that is beloved by adults still. You know, like adults can watch and get, but it's like very like childish in a good way, with the dialogue and everything. But yeah, like with the Avatar movie, it was like you weren't trying to entertain kids at all, and it's like you were trying to make like a serious, and so yeah. But I mean, good luck, Charlie. I don't know.
The live action cast has like good chemistry together,
Yeah.
right? Like I think I've seen them talking, and they seem.
Have I talked about my opinion of this?
I didn't even
I've
know
heard,
there
I've
was
heard, I've heard a
a
little
live
bit here, and
action
I've heard a little
thing.
bit there.
So long ago, they released. I think honestly, immediately after we record this episode, we should watch the trailer.
I can't watch the trailer.
They released a cast video where it was the 5 people to play the first 5 crewmates, and immediately I made the decision after I saw that video. I said, I don't care if this is good or bad. I'm going to like this show. They picked the perfect actors who are like so adorable and fun. And then they become friends in real life and they like hang out. And the person who plays like the cook for the crew is actually like cooking them meals like
That's
after
they
shooting.
got you.
Wow.
They
It's
fucking got
amazing.
Get
And
assigned.
I honestly, everything I've seen from the show kind of looks like the best case scenario, which is not exactly saying
It's
much.
all you can ask for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much do you think it's even gonna cover? It's gonna be 8 fucking episodes.
So the
So
episodes,
stupid.
I know where it ends. I believe we will be. I think it is like volume 12 that it goes through. What?
8 episodes is gonna cover 12 volumes.
Roughly. Yeah. You know.
So you're saying everything we read is gonna be not even the whole first episode?
I assume roughly the first episode is going to be that. I think episode 1, what we just watched, episode 2, this next arc, maybe episode 3, this next arc, and then 4, probably the arc following, and then 5 and 6, the arc after that, and then 7 and 8, the arc after that.
Oh, okay. So there's arcs that cover multiple volumes?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I see.
I believe the next 2 arcs are going to be the next 2 volumes are going to be the next arc and a couple extra chapters of the following arc.
Gotcha. Well, that's insane because I feel like even though it was snappy and went by, there was a lot of the locations, there's a lot of stuff that happened. You know, we met a lot of characters. You look like you're thinking about something. You look like you have something to say.
I just don't want to say my name again at the end of this podcast.
Don't say it.
Okay.
You don't have to. If you don't
I
want
just don't want to say my full name out loud. Anyway.
I think in the
Continue.
future we can even censor the one earlier.
You can bleep it out.
You can just be Adriana very
Okay.
easily.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So I like
Prince.
I thought it was really funny. I was like, why the fuck does he have 3 swords? I know I've been spoiled into like a technique he uses, which I'm so excited to see for his 3 swords. But it explains his backstory, and I was like, okay, it's fucking shown in backstory time in the middle of an action scene. But then it was kind of beautiful, and there was some insane rep for a second, and I got kind of misty-eyed with what was her name?
Kawina.
Kawina. And then, there's a lot of declarations like, I'm going to be the king of the pirates. I'm going to be the greatest swordsman. I don't know what that means. I'm excited to see what that is going to mean. But let me know right now if that ends up meaning nothing. Because I don't know if I'm supposed to know.
It will mean something, and that something will be on a very solid set of terms very soon.
Okay, fantastic. Kobe's bullet hole wound healed. I hated that. And I'm kidding. I thought it was really funny because a lot of that happens in anime all the time. Where they just walk off like gaping wounds.
He also, real quick, he gets a gun put to his head. I'm sure y'all have heard like all the crazy things that the 4Kids dub did for One Piece.
No.
But they first localized, the first place that One Piece aired in America was on Cartoon Network for children. And so all the guns, a lot of them that the Marines have are replaced with like squirt guns. They literally drew in squirt guns. And then Helmeppo, instead of pointing a gun at Kobe's head, he has a handle with a trigger on it that is connected to a spring that is connected to a boot that is going to kick Kobe in the face if he pulls the trigger.
Wait, that's awesome.
Oh my god.
Oda should have thought.
I will tell you more of these things as they come up in the story.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Did they do that? How did the 4Kids do the one guy that pointed the gun at Shanks getting shot in the head?
I don't know if they did.
Okay.
Or if they did, I don't know how they did.
Okay. That's the whole walking wounds off. I'm gonna expect that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take that. Happens in JoJo a lot too.
Yeah.
Speedwagon's hat fucked up Jonathan's wrists. You never hear about it again. We learned about his 3 swords, and then he doesn't do anything with them, which I thought was interesting.
I think there will be a moment.
He blocked like 13 guys. Attack.
No, it was awesome, but I mean, he didn't. I didn't see him use the 3rd sword. Is all I mean, and can't wait to see that.
Yeah,
I had it in my head. I don't know how. I had it in my head that the 3 swords technique was something that he learned throughout the course of the show.
No.
So having him come in and just be like, I got the mouth sword technique.
Yeah,
I was
that's
like,
right.
I love that. This is awesome.
He is the inventor. In the anime, the way they do it is, I think the Kuina backstory is like a whole episode. And so Zoro shows up to a dojo, and because he wants to be the strongest, he holds like 5 swords in each hand and then like 3 swords in his mouth because he just wants to have the most swords to win.
That is how you win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so even that was, I think it's kind of implied that he was, to try to best Kuina, he was just, he went to 2 swords to just try to have more swords than her.
Yeah.
I love that he took on her sword. He loved her.
And that's the one he puts in his mouth.
Yeah.
That's why, because he used 2 swords, in fact, and then now he had to use this 3rd sword. Had to find a way to use it.
Yeah. I can't wait to see.
God forbid he replace a sword.
He likes those other swords so much.
It's like his stuffed animals that he keeps on his bed. He's like, well, I can't kick one off. They'll get jealous.
Did they say the name of this sword?
No,
I don't
not
know.
yet.
Okay.
Wait, so you said, hold on, that happened in a filler episode that he held all the swords in his mouth?
Yes. That is an anime-only episode that they're just like, let's make this whole backstory an episode.
Does Oda, does he have a lot of say into what happens in the filler episodes?
No.
That's okay. I'm almost done. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna be more concise later on. I have a lot of thoughts.
Of course.
on this.
Yeah,
It's also the start of the whole everything.
Yeah.
Huh?
It's the start of everything.
It is.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. But yeah, Luffy reminds me of Aang. I think that's a big thing about his attitude that I really like, and that reminds me of just The Last Airbender in general.
Aang, if he grew up in like New Jersey or something.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah.
And something I realized, the women, they all kind of have same face.
Yeah.
I like the woman face that he does. But I don't know. I think with other characters I've seen later, he kind of gets more diverse with them. And so I'm looking for. There's a lot that I see a lot of potential. Mm-hmm. I'm really looking forward to it. But overall, it was a really fun ride, and I really started to notice like wow, the tone, like One Piece sort of knows its audience, and when you start One Piece, like you're like, okay, I can tell who this is for. Starting JoJo, I don't know if it had a specific audience in mind, and I wondered that for a long time watching JoJo, like, who is this supposed to be for? Which is part of something I love about it, but I'm like, oh, the tones between what you just experienced and what we just experienced are vastly different.
Yeah.
Like, and so this will be, it's almost like you can't compare it.
It's like the Barbie Oppenheimer release.
Yeah, which is happening around very soon.
Yes.
I'll see you in theaters.
A year before these
Oh my
episodes come out.
For you, of course, audience, that was however long ago, and that's when we recorded this, whatever yesterday was for you. And yeah, with that, any final thoughts on One Piece here?
Well, I have to finish it first.
You little bugger.
I'm very excited. We talked about this off the mics, but I immediately, like, after finishing what was our required reading, I was like, I want to read a lot more, and
Yeah.
I had to stop myself from continuing reading.
I wanted to read
really hard.
I wanted to read the next chapter after chapter 8. One thing I forgot to say, my favorite thing about the whole thing so far has been Zoro joining the crew, which honestly happened really fast, and I just went with it because it made sense. Like he's not trying to reinvent the wheel here, or that's not the term I should use. Zoro he's a very focused character, and his focus aligns with Luffy's. Immediately I was like, oh man, I need to see them banter. I can't wait to see whatever these fucking idiots are going to talk about. And I was not let down. The next chapter, he's like, oh, we're so hungry. He's like, you didn't pack any food? You're an idiot. And it's just like, oh, I see a bird. Bye. Like, that shit was...
I think that
was
the
so
moment
funny.
When he gum rocketed
Oh my
up
God.
and just grabbed the bird.
Also, like, to this point, we don't know why the fuck that bird was there. Like, what it was like. I thought it was going to be like someone's pet or something. Like, not his pet. But it was just like, okay, random bird took him here for some reason. Cool. And if it, like, I just wouldn't be surprised if it was never mentioned again.
Yeah. I'll let you know. It's just a bird. That's a bird.
I also really love it when you get introduced to a world, and within the context of its own style, you have animals that are just unnatural and crazy, and they just exist in this world. And boom, huge bird, no explanation.
Yeah.
Luffy barked up the wrong
Josh,
tree.
I
this
forgot
is
to talk about the sea
the
beast.
what?
In the beginning
yeah.
chapter,
Yeah.
the one
Sea
thing,
King.
the Sea King,
Okay,
is that what it's
then.
called? Looks like the crocodile from
Yes.
Peter Pan.
Yes.
Is what he looks like to me.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
the moment where Shanks like made eye contact with him and went
Oh,
all
yeah.
shaky eyed,
That was
and I
cool.
was like,
he lost
What's
an
up there?
arm.
Is
What's
he
going
just that
there?
tough, or does he have something going on? He just
I
looks
think
at it and it runs away.
Yeah,
That
he's-
was insane.
He's
arm
definitely
back.
got something going on. Yeah.
Shanks is.
Shanks is awesome.
I hope we see him again, and I
course.
think he'll be. I think if
But
we do, he'll be
also,
awesome.
the name of a cat is Shanks.
Skimble Shanks.
Yeah, okay, that's
the
what.
railway cat.
Wait, okay, that's why I had that. Okay, fuck.
Is that from Cats?
You know
Yeah,
Okay.
I was like, why did someone name their cat that? And I was like, that's what the cat's name was.
it. Also, while we're still talking about One Piece, I remembered one of the big laughs for me. I really enjoy. Oda does a lot of funny page turns, and I really like Luffy's like walking along. He has a blank expression, and he hears Helmeppo be like, that guy's getting executed. I'm not even getting around. And then you turn the page, and Luffy is already clobbering him. He just went straight to hitting him.
Oh,
that
him
was
breaking
pretty good.
the statue was also really funny, where he
Uh-huh.
grabs it and he's just like, oh. I love it because it was such a great moment of pacing, going the statue cracking and falling, him going sorry, and then it shattering on the ground was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to read more. I'm gonna be actively looking for the moment that I feel like we go from good One Piece to great One Piece.
It's a coming.
Yeah,
But not next episode or the episode after that. But the episode after that, probably, I think, it's going down.
All right.
I think I have no idea when you're gonna get to good JoJo, because that really depends on the person.
Uh-huh.
But I'm excited for you to reach the point where you have not seen anything yet.
Which hopefully with our pacing is going to be pretty soon. Do you
Yeah.
want to talk about our new pacing goals and what we decided?
Yeah.
Let's get to homework.
So
Yes.
we realized that if we continue at the pace that we just started at, we read one volume at a time, and then the equivalent of that, like 3 episodes ish. It's going to be a while before we catch up. It's going to be a while before we're all on the same page.
Because they're books.
Yeah. Yeah, so
So we don't want to do that. We want to read more.
we don't want to do that. We
Yeah.
think we can read more. We're going to try to double the volume for this next one, and literally, like, we're going to read 2 volumes of One Piece, and Clayton is going to watch 6 episodes of JoJo.
Which
Yeah.
means
In 1 week.
he will be finishing part 1.
Yes.
Yes.
Which is great because I would love to talk about. That's crazy how short it is now, because there's the whole ending arc of a later part is longer than all of part 1.
Of course.
And it's crazy that we could be talking about the end of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Yeah. This is just
Part
to
1.
give you a hint of the future. This first arc of One Piece was 7 chapters. The most recent arc that ended, I began reading it in as it was releasing on a sometimes weekly, a lot of times bi-weekly schedule, kind of what Oda's feeling at the time. I started reading that my sophomore year of college.
Oh my god.
That is right when Clayton and I, or no,
Yes.
before
It
Clayton
is.
and I.
It was
met.
before I met anybody at this table. Right around the time that I met Max Foster and Ben Glassman.
Wow.
It was that was 7 chapters. I believe that arc is 152 chapters, but it doesn't look a day over 70.
It's funny because it's a very similar case with JoJo. JoJo Part 1 started in 1987, ended in 1987. Part 8, the most recent completed part, began in 2012. 2011, ended in 2021.
Whoa!
Yeah.
So
That's crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, any before we leave off, any expectations we want to set for the other side? Clayton, I think you should start.
Sure. This next part of One Piece, it continues. I think it's very fun. We're gonna meet one of my most beloved characters, a character that I've been thinking about this a lot. I really want to cosplay this character, and I want to take it somewhere. I bet just in general, I've been wanting to go to anime conventions again, because I used to do that all the time.
We'll be
but
finishing a whole arc, correct?
I believe this should take us all the way. This arc is a fun time. The arc after that is one of the only arcs. There's like 3 in all of One Piece that I'm going to put in a stinker category. It's still fun. It's still a good time. We meet some great characters. The 2 arcs from now, I don't like it very much, and we're going to see some of that. But
Awesome.
in general, we're going to have a fun time. Again, we're not going to get to like peak One Piece or anything, but it'll probably be fun. I think y'all will like it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sounds good.
And I'll stake my reputation on this. Okay, real quick. Adriana cried 1 time. I have cried 2 times. I
Yeah.
cried in the first chapter, and then also at the same part as them, the Kuina part. There's going to be tears, at least from you again, I bet. And I would not be surprised if other people in this next episode.
Nice.
Oh wow.
Cool.
I don't think you're gonna cry. For these next there might be one moment where you feel like, oh. There might be a few of those moments. If I were watching what you were watching, I might tear up like 1 or 2 times. But we're not there yet. We're not at that part. We're not in that era of JoJo yet.
You're not trauma bonded to the series yet,
No.
where like you
No, you're not.
look at the first and you're like, oh, the roots,
Mm-hmm.
like we are. But yeah.
Hell yeah. I'm excited.
Yeah. Are we still in the Making Friends arc? Is that what you would say?
Romance Dawn, which is the name of this first arc that ended at chapter 7.
Great name.
Is where I said making friends. He meets Kobe. And really, I also thought that Romance Dawn, we met Nami briefly.
She's in a panel. In the very first panel when they're all, or the celebration panel when Guy gets executed.
No, I mean,
Nami's like right
Nami's
behind
there?
him, right?
Wait, is
No,
not
sir.
Who's behind him?
Chapter 8 is
Who's the
still-
lady behind him?
That
No,
like
wait.
that's helping execute him?
No.
Wait,
no,
when
no.
are-
When Luffy is
Yeah.
like jumping up in the sky and he's like,
Uh-huh.
"Yeah, the pirate got executed. Let's go find the
Oh,
One Piece."
okay.
Nami's behind him.
I thought you
Oh,
meant
that's-
I thought you meant in story.
No, that's a cover. That's a chapter cover.
Oh my god! I went the whole.
Wait, did you think that? So then, if
Wait.
that was the case, did you think that Gold Roger had not been executed at the start of the
No,
story?
no. I thought that Gold Roger had been executed, but I thought that it was like. I was like, oh, so Nami and Luffy like live in the same place.
That's funny.
Oh, interesting.
So this
I
last
didn't-
chapter where you like, where'd they get those
Well,
little
I just was
penguin
like-
bird pets?
I figured I was like, oh, it's probably
Yeah.
it'll come up. We'll figure it out later. We'll figure out why they were at Gold D. Rogers' execution together.
The chapter that introduces Nami is still part of Volume 1. I think it's still part of Romance Dawn, unless that's not part of the same arc.
No. Romance Dawn is 1 through 7. This is the beginning of a little arc called Orange Town
Whoa.
because it's where they are.
Wonder what color that
Hell yeah.
town is.
Awesome.
I don't even think it's orange. I think it's just called Orange Town.
To set your expectations briefly.
Please do.
So what you just did this past week, you got through 3 of the 5 what I would call good episodes of Part 1.
Okay.
The
I
next-
remember I remember there's something with like these serial. Oh, that's when Jack the Ripper comes
Yeah,
back.
you're about to.
He's like fighting these guys in a
Oh my
tunnel or
God, I
something.
remember
Yeah, it's such a fucking
Yeah.
whiplash whenever you remember Jack the Ripper's in Part 1.
Yeah.
I
And-
think I remember liking Hammond a little bit.
Hamon?
Hamon?
Yeah.
Ha-
It's also known as the
guy
Ripple.
from
The fuck
Jurassic
is a
Park.
ham?
It's also known as the Ripple in some translations.
Ooh.
Yeah, Haman is like a Sanskrit word for it. I could
Okay.
be completely wrong. Yeah, so the next 4 episodes are for me, overall, the boring part, the part that doesn't flow too well, and then the last 2 episodes are pretty good again.
This next week is when you should enlist Hayden's help to watch it.
It's going to be a lot more fun if you watch it with
It'll
someone.
Be better, yeah.
There still are great moments
I need
littered
to rewatch
throughout,
it.
moments I'm excited to talk about. And you know, at the beginning of the next episode is pretty awesome too. We actually just read through what is pretty much the first half of the next episode. And you're going to be reintroduced to one of my favorite little characters. But yeah, does anything else that we should set as
I
expectations?
think we should all
Sick.
say our first, middle, and last names to sign off.
Yeah. And then say also who you're descended from. Let's get the lineage in there.
The
lineages.
family tree.
Yeah. Yeah. This is fun. I'm excited.
Yes.
This has been-
I'm pumped for next week. This one was very fun.
Hell yeah.
Excited.
This has been, and then Clayton, you're gonna cut this part out, and you're gonna edit in
Nope.
us saying the name of the podcast.
I'm not doing all that
Once we
shit.
decide
This has been a podcast. We don't
Yeah.
need to explain that to you. You know what it's called because you found it.
Yeah, JoJo's versus
Fool.
One Piece.
You're
Yeah.
looking at it probably.
That is
Yeah.
the title.
But anyway,
JK.
next time, 2 volumes of One Piece, 6 episodes of JoJo's. Thank y'all for listening. And unless we have anything else to say,
Nope.
No.
Don't get your arm bit off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
bye-bye.
Bye.
I love you. Good night.
I love you. Good night.
I love you. Good night.